For this video, I'm going to demonstrate drawing the head from 3 different angles. I'm going to begin, my model is going to look straight on, so I'm going to get a symmetrical straight on view. I'm going to draw firstly with, this is actually a Conte pencil, so it's a bit of sanguine brown. I could have used a pastel of a similar colour, so I'm going to start with that. Then I'm going to darken it with some charcoal, and I'm going to lighten it with some chalk. So this is called 3-colour drawing, and it's fairly quick because a lot of the colour is the colour of the page, the grey page that I'm working on. So firstly, I'm going to begin with a bit of an outline of my model's hair and her face. The way I'm going to use this 3-colour approach is I'm going to draw with the brown first, darken it with the charcoal and lighten it with the chalk. So I'm doing almost a line drawing really of that outline of her hair and the outline of her face. So this is really an instruction demonstration to do particularly with the features, the position of the features and the shape of the features. So I've started with the line of the eyebrows. Because we're looking straight on at the face, we have a symmetrical view. So the nose is down the middle and the eyes have a symmetry, so does the mouth. So I'll explain that a little bit more. So I've used some lines to find the eyebrows. I've come down the side of the nose here and I've outlined the base, the tip of the nose, and I've also put in the shape of the top lip and the lower lip. So firstly, to do with this viewpoint, this is the central line and it runs down the middle of the face, and all of the features are relatively symmetrical. So the nose, for example, I've put a line down here where I can see a little bit more shadow on that side. Then I'm going to eventually put some light on this side, but I've put some lines just to help indicate the front of the nose and distinguish it from the side of the nose. And the front of the nose is in the middle, which it won't be when we have a different viewpoint. This is the philtrum, which connects the nose to the mouth and lines up with the centre of the upper lip, which I'll emphasise a bit more like that. So I've concentrated a little bit on nose and mouth there. So now to come to the eyes from this straight-on view are also symmetrical in shape, and it's a so-called almond shape. So I'm first putting in a line for the eyelash, which will help me define the upper lid. And then I'll put in another line. So that's the eyelash. This is the crease where the upper eyelid goes back into the skin below the eyebrow and forms a crease there. So a double line will help give some form to that eyelid. Not sure my distance is right there, so we'll just see. And then I'm going to maybe just darken a pupil in both of them and get a little bit of a shadow at the lower lid. So I'm wanting to emphasize to you the symmetrical nature of the position of the features, but also the shape of the features themselves. So that almond shape of the opening of the eye, and similarly the centre of the nose being, front of the nose being the centre, and the mouth, the shape of each side of the top lip the same, a darker top lip with some light coming from above and a little bit of a notch below the lower lip, and then I'm into the chin. So that's a little bit about the position of the features from this viewpoint. Maybe I need a slightly lower forehead. I think that eye's a bit big, but I'm going to go on because I've got more to tell you. And having done a certain amount of line, so I've got the front of the nose, and I want to just define the side of the nostril there, and this side here. So the wings of the nostrils I've defined with a bit of a line. So I want to do something a little bit, do a bit more modelling. So firstly I'll just fill in the hair, because I have got a darker shape to the hair, and we've got a little bit of an ear there. So I've done some, because I'm wanting to darken that hair, I've done some hatching. There's no harm in a bit of smudging as well. And actually maybe with what's on my thumb now, I could just, no, there's nothing there. All right, well, I'll just do a bit of shading on the right side of the face and the front of the nose as I see it, because we've got a little bit of light coming from the left. So I think because we've got that light coming from the left, and I want to talk about the shape of the features seen from this angle, that eye's still too big, but I need to change it. So I've talked about the nose having a front plane, which I've outlined on either side, but actually with our light coming in from the left, I can now put in a pattern of light just really where the front of the nose meets the side of the nose, and there's a little bit of light going across onto the side of the nose there, and that is particularly evident at the tip of the nose there. So I've put a round bit of light there, and also a bit on the nostril, to help emphasize this shape of the tip of the nose, which is quite round. It's quite spherical, and if I can get a little bit of clearer light on there, I can bring out that tip of the nose. So the light's coming from the side. I've also got light here just on the lower lid, the edge of the lower lid there, and on the cheek. This plane on the side of the cheek, and also there's a little bit on the side of the chin. So these are all the planes, or these curving edges on the side of the face, and I've also got some here on the side of the temple. So I've been talking about the shape of the features, but here I'm also trying to talk a bit about the planes, front planes and side planes on the nose and the cheek, and even on the lower lid there. We've got a little bit on the upper lid perhaps as well, and some there. So that's just modelling those features. That eye is still too big, but I've got other things to tell you, so I'm going to leave that, and I've got a little bit of light on the top of the hair. So just to keep going with this business of the three-colour drawing, because if you're wanting to practice heads and get better at heads, it's actually quite good to do the three-colour drawing, because you can go from the middle, where we've got the warm brown sanguine pastel, to gradually lightening, as I've just done, and then also even darkening. And as you lighten and you darken, this warm sanguine pastel can be cooled down very slightly. So I've got some effectively darker brown in the hair, but I'm now also matching that in the eyebrows, and also a bit in the eyelash and a bit in the pupil. So it's possible just to add a bit more contrast, but significantly it's in very particular places. These little accents. Accents mean dark marks which accentuate, which strengthen. And I'll eventually sort out this eye, but that's maybe for another drawing. So that's the straight on view, and let's pause a moment and then we'll look at a three-quarter view. So now we're working with a three-quarter view, and I'll go through the same steps because I think this is a good way to get the head started. Often I think it's really good to start with hair, and I'm seeing a lot more of the hair on the right side of my model's face. And when I get to this side of her face, it's really going to be her hair that's going to define that outline of cheekbone, jaw, and then down to chin. So something like that, and the neck is there. Working with the features is not a bad idea if you've done hair, to then start with the eyebrow on this side and find a line that brings that eyebrow into the face, into the nose. And here we can see, so this line is the line that's going to define the edge of the nose, and then, as I was emphasizing with the straight on view, the tip of the nose is a round shape. And I've got interesting light here. I've got a little bit of light on that side of the nose. Then most of the nose is in shadow. So I'm going to go from the round shape of the tip of the nose to the back of the nostril, and then get back up to the other eyebrow to work with still positioning the features within this face, because that looks a little bit long, so we'll see what happens. Coming to this eyebrow, useful to point out the shape of eyebrows generally. Eyebrows have a sort of horizontal, maybe slightly raised section, and then a part that drops down. And the useful thing for artists is the point at which that drops down is level with the temple. And by changing the direction of the eyebrow, if that's what you see, you're helping model the front of the forehead and the side of the forehead. So even eyebrows can actually help with the modelling of the head. So that's, I'll also then put in an eyelash, and I talked about an almond shape, a symmetrical almond shape for the eye seen straight on. Seen from the 3/4 view, it's not symmetrical, and the line of this eyelash that I'm going to start with is going to go up at that angle to about there, and then drop down. So this is a so-called fish shape. So it's compressed at one side, and the crease follows that direction as well. That eye looks a bit high in relation to the eyebrow. I might have to change the eyebrow, but I'll carry on, get this explanation done. So the same pattern is with this, is the eye that I'm looking at on the left. And the thing really to emphasize is that angled eyelash that we can see on our side, and then it drops away on that side. So we can put in the second line for the crease of the eyebrow, crease of the eyelid. So I'll just put in something for the pupil and the iris. And if the eye seen straight on is more circular, because it's symmetrical, seen from the side it's a bit more of an ellipse, a bit more compressed. But I don't want to go much further with the eye yet, because I want to check myself that I'm getting the other proportions and positions right. So I'll come back to that in a moment. But from the tip of the nose down to the philtrum, I now want to work with the mouth. And again, this 3/4 view, the mouth is not symmetrical. The top lip, the side that's nearer to us, is full length, but the other half of the top lip is foreshortened. So that's a gentle angle, tapering to the corner. This is a much sharper angle. And the middle of the mouth is about there, lining up with the philtrum. It's worth going from that middle, maybe finding a crease in the lower lip, down to the shadow, the notch below the lower lip. And again, if we look at the lower lip, this side is broader, this side is foreshortened. So that's giving some orientation to the mouth. So now that I've got a slightly stronger mouth, I can see that maybe the line for the cheek needs to be about there, and the chin a little bit further out. So something like that. So I'm working very much with lines to place these features and try and explain to you the shapes of the features. And I think now that I see again, it would be good just to raise that eyebrow a bit more. I'll see if I have to rub something out, or just, if I haven't pressed too hard, I can just replace some of those marks with something a bit stronger. So there's the line of the nose. And what else do we want to explain? There's a little bit more of the eye socket and the cheek there. So that's talking about the shape of the features seen from this three-quarter view. So now I should go a bit further with the drawing again and maybe model those features a little bit more with light and shade, and repeat some of the points that I've made by applying light and dark, the black and the white. I'll be able to reinforce what I've said about the shape of the features. And again, this could be, if you want to try this drawing from different points of view and consolidate this lesson, then it's worth working with the three colour approach, because you don't get too caught up with colour. So now I'm going to model a bit. I'm filling in the darker hair as I did before, smudging it a bit. And you see how smudging makes things a bit more solid, a bit darker. And I've got a nice pattern of light, so this right side is in shadow. So I think I'm just going to hatch right across all of that. And we've got some shadows there in parts of that eye. Now I'm going to take my charcoal and get a bit darker. And as I said at the beginning, there's a lovely clear edge to this side of the face, which is defined very much by, I don't know which line is which, got a bit lost here, defined very much by the dark hair on that side of the face. That looks all wrong, so I've got to sort that out. I'll do it with some light perhaps. So anyway, let's just darken the hair a bit, and then add these accents. So I've talked about the shape of the eyebrow going across and dropping, that eyebrow as well. And these accents now, I'm particularly going to put them into the eyelash, and I'm emphasizing this side of the eyelash, which you can see that's all a bit out of balance. That's really standing out. So I'll go back to the brown pastel. But that's giving me a dark pupil and some emphasis. And I'll get some more emphasis into the nostril and the centre of the mouth and the corners. So it's often quite good to emphasize those. So that all looks a little bit out of shape, and I'm just going to take an eraser and lose some of that just to get back. I could also do it with some chalk, because I've just got to make sure that side of the face lines up. And as I did before, got a nice pattern of light here. So I'm just going to gently apply some light to that side of the forehead. I've got some on that bit of the eyelid, and some at this point, the eye socket and the cheek. So it's quite nice to bring out some of that clear light. And then the light is on, starting at the bridge of the nose and coming down the centre of the nose, and then in almost separate form on the tip of the nose. And here above the upper lip, and some light there on that side of the lower lip, and some on the chin. So that's brought things together a little bit better. I think there's more things I could do to balance these eyes. When I put on the charcoal, that really made those pupils stand out. But now this is really rebalancing some of the colour by strengthening some of the warm brown. I'm shifting that balance a bit, and the top lip facing down is dark, so it's also helpful to fill that in. So you can see I'm changing the temperature, and I think I might actually go on building up some more of a plane on this side of the nose with a bit more of that sanguine colour. And I talked about the eyebrow changing direction, and here is where the temple is. It's a plane on the temple, and we've got a bit of a plane on the side of the cheek here. So just trying to work a bit with some of those warmer shadows to model the planes on the side of the head, and also to relate them to the shape of the features. So I think that's almost all I'm going to do. A little bit more dark in the hair and a little bit more light in the hair, and then I think we'll look at a profile. A little bit of light there. We're getting some nice light through the window. Okay. So lastly, the profile. So we're looking at the side of the head, and same advice. There's a large shape to the hair from here. I'll try and get it all on, and then I've really got to be just fairly decisive about drawing the outline of the face. So forehead sloping out, coming in at the bridge of the nose, coming out along the length of the nose, around a tip to the nose, philtrum, upper lip facing down, into the lower lip, and then the notch below the lower lip before we get to the chin. Then back to the front of the neck. So something like that. Again, the three colour approach, trying not to press too hard first, and then coming in from the bridge of the nose, the eyebrow going across, and then dropping down. And then when we look at the eye, we're looking at the side of the eye, and so the angle of the eyelash is that, I don't know what degrees it is exactly, but there's a pupil and a very compressed iris and pupil there. So really the main line I'm using to get the direction of the eye is that angle of the eyelash, and there is another line above to get the crease of the eyelid. And again, I seem to be a bit low with the eyebrow each time. The nose, I've said, so the nose coming out, and then you can see from the profile the rounder tip. Not much of the nostril visible, and then the wing at the back of the nostril there. Philtrum, upper lip sloping down to the corner and dark, and the lower lip catching some light. So let's go back to the hair and get that a little bit clearer. Some ear here, and then the neck and the jawline there. So let's fill in the hair so I can then focus a bit on the face. And we're getting a little bit of light, which maybe I should get on with. Let's put a little bit of shadow on the side of the nose and a little bit on the side of the cheek. It's not that sharp a difference, but you can see, well, I can see a little bit of dark on the temple there. So just to emphasize those planes, but it might be worth doing the light now to finish off that lesson of the front of the nose is catching some light here. So I've put shadow on the side, but from my profile point of view, there's a little bit of light coming onto the front of the nose and the tip of the nose also with its rounder shape. There's some on the philtrum and also some on the lower lip. The upper lip is dark because it's facing down. The lower lip faces up, catches the light, and we've got a little bit of light on the chin as well, and some on the forehead, a bit more general there. So that's quite nice, that point of view. That was too much. Just getting some modelling of the nose and mouth with the light. And also there's a little bit of light just at the middle of the upper lid. And what's very useful, because I didn't manage to talk about it with the other views, but there's a little bit of light on the rim of the lower lid. And very often that's what an artist can use to define the eye in the lower part and to emphasize the roundness of the eye, the roundness of the lower lid. So I'll come back to that maybe, but I just want to darken now. Darkening the hair with a bit of the charcoal, the black, because I want to get some more accents into these features. So a bit more dark into the eyebrow, particularly in the central bit. We've got an eyelash which is dark and a bit of a pupil as well. And as before, I put some into the nostrils, some in the centre and the corner of the mouth. A bit too much. And then again, as what happened before, this is almost a bit too warm, a bit too cool from the black. So I just want to warm that up and strengthen some of those marks that I made, partly so that I can make sense of that light on the lower lid, because we could get a little bit more of a shadow to the lower lid and also a bit more of a shadow on the bridge of the nose. So that's probably almost enough. There are more subtle steps I could take with this drawing just to rebalance it, but it's also meant to be a drawing, not quite diagrammatic, but a drawing that explains certain points. So it's more important that you've seen me do it, and I've made sense rather than it being a perfect drawing. But I thought I might get a little bit more light onto the cheek there and a little bit of light on the hair here. So I say thank you to my model, and I'm just going to bring the camera over to look at the 3 drawings to recap that we're looking at. In the middle we've got the straight on view, and then we've got the 3/4 view and the profile. And I talked about the symmetry of the straight on view with eyes, the almond shaped, nose and mouth symmetrical. The 3/4 view where they're asymmetric, fish shaped eyes, compressed left side of the mouth, and the profile view where we're looking at the side of each of those features. Okay.